Signals in the deep, markets never sleep. Whales move silent, but we speak. On-chain truth, no disguise. This is Leviathan, open your eyes.
Hello everyone, what's up? Leviathan News here. It's Wednesday, July 30th, and it's actually Ethereum's 10th anniversary according to what I'm seeing on X. So shout out Ethereum, congratulations. How fortunate we are, to be honest. How fortunate we are. And I'm actually honored to have a guest that actually fits this day, I think, quite perfectly. Clouded from ETH Strategy, which hopefully we're going to learn all about in a few minutes. I'm going to give a few seconds for people to join the stream. Please share it, guys. Before we even start, go follow ETH Strategy and Clouded and us at Leviathan News. Appreciate any kind of like, support, engagement, share it with your friends, especially on such a celebrative day. So, okay. Clouded, how are you, sir? Thanks for coming.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Been hoping to do this for a while. Like I told you before we went on stage, I started seeing you and ETH Strategy like a few months ago, and I noticed your specific account because of a lot of like funny but really true in my mind posts about how Ethereum is actually it's simply superior to competitors. With no names even need a lot of mentioning, you know, and so I
Cough,
actually think
Solana, cough.
yeah. So you know, I think the conversation around it, like on the Ethereum side, even started like picking up, even like 2 or 3 months, I think, before like the price movement, and now with the anniversary of Ethereum and there's some of the price action recently and the general enthusiasm about it, I really feel the vibe has shifted, and I actually think that like all these ETH treasury companies that started coming about, like SharpLink Gaming, Joe Lubin's SBET, with the rise of the like Linea is coming big time. I think sure. I'm very interested in what's going to be there. Like I have no idea what's going on, but I actually think they're positioned in a very interesting position over there, and I started noticing some other companies who are trying to like act differently. Ethereum Foundation is going through something. I saw this thing Etherealize, which is also like seemed like okay, something's happening. And then I noticed you guys, and I really liked the fact that you know, it's very simple to say, okay, wait a minute. Is this going to be just like the on-chain ETH Michael Saylor MicroStrategy? And so I actually immediately kinda, oh my God, this this can work. So I really hoped having you on since then. And actually, I know that you guys have been very, very busy lately with some stuff. So after this very probably as usual too long of an intro on my side, take it, man. Like, what is ETH Strategy? What are you been up to recently? What's your vision? What should people know, expect? Give us the whole pitch, as they say.
Yeah, definitely. No, thank you. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, it's been quite a hectic week. We've kind of started going through our launch sequence for ETH Strategy. A bit of background. So the whole project started about 6 months ago, towards the beginning of the year, when sentiment for ETH was quite down, as many may remember. And yeah, we were heads down building this whole time, and fortunate to launch at a time where sentiment definitely turned around and is in our favor. So very grateful for that, of course. But yeah, ETH Strategy, you know, the highest left curve overview is that it is Michael Saylor on chain for Ethereum, but it's definitely got a right curve to it too. It is most definitely a brand new DeFi primitive of its own. At its core, it is a protocol that wants to accumulate as much ETH as it possibly can, and it does this through some core primitives, including the ability to issue convertible debt through a bonding mechanism, where it gives bonders the ability to actually get yield on the volatility of ETH. And it also has another mechanism where once implemented, it can also do similar to what TradFi does at the market offerings. It can kind of also secure some ETH through trading volume and bring that back to Treasury too. So ETH Strategy is a protocol that just tries to accumulate as much ETH as possible, crucially in accretive, dilutive ways. So the key here is that the token STRAT, which is a representation of the Treasury, will only be diluted if we are taking in more ETH than the value of STRAT that we are diluting with. So the accretion is the key thing on this protocol. So I guess that's the high level overview of it. STRAT holders will basically experience a kind of ETH yielding token. You can think of STRAT as like a new version of an ETH yielding token like STETH, except the yield does not come from validation services. It comes from this new convertible arbitrage primitive that the protocol kind of puts out to the market, and the market takes like demand of. I'll leave it there for now. Do you have any maybe more questions around this or?
Yeah, for sure. Let's start diving into what made you decide that this is the way. But what I mean is, what made you guys decide that this is like the most needed protocol right now? Okay. And by the way, is it like a protocol like? Like I should refer to it as a protocol, right? Like that's basically like the whole point of taking this.
It is a protocol. Yeah, it's not fully rolled out yet as we speak. It's going to be rolled out in stages. So we just got through our very first launch sequence where the token is live and very, very few parts of the protocol. But over the coming month or two, we will roll out the rest of the protocol in stages. It's quite a complex build, so it's not something that we want to just dump like a whole bunch of smart contracts that are integrated with each other into the market. We want to roll it out in stages and try and educate the community as we roll it out. So behind the scenes, it is quite complex, and it's going to take some time for us to kind of like roll it out properly. But yes, it's very much a full on-chain protocol. There is no off-chain components to this. Actually, our raise has been done completely on-chain. Our pre-sale vesting is done on-chain. All the tokens are fully on chain. The ETH is accumulated and bought on chain. The bonding is done on chain. The trade that it opens to get yield on the volatility of ETH is inherently on chain. So yes, it's as on chain as you can get actually.
That's actually quite cool. Can you share about STRAT itself? Like, and again, like I may be getting this wrong, and correct me. Like, people are gonna like own STRAT, and then you guys keep accumulating. So every STRAT will eventually be representing like a share, and it's like more and more ETH. That's like the basic logic, or am I missing like some key factors there?
I think it's a good summary. I mean, STRAT is akin to the SBET ticker or the MSTR ticker for our protocol. So it is basically the claim on Treasury token, where it represents the equity layer of the Treasury, right? Like if the Treasury has like X amount of ETH value, STRAT is the representative portion of that. And just like SBET for SharpLink and MSTR for MicroStrategy, that's what STRAT is. And how it would feel for users is like if you basically purchase STRAT or acquire STRAT somehow, you can also acquire it through the bonding. You will have a a token that is fully backed by ETH. And over time, that fundamental backing, which is what we call EPS, ETH per strat, will constantly increase as the protocol operations go on. So if you participated in the pre-sale, the rate that we gave was 1 ETH is 10,000 strat. We have a unit bias on strat because why not? I'm quite of a mimetic thought leader of myself, so we definitely slapped a unit bias on strat there. But if you bought strat at 1 ETH to 10,000 strat, that's basically that was our starting EPS, if you like to think about it, where 10,000 strat has an ETH per strat of 1 ETH. And then over time,
so in a way, it like becomes the automatic RFV.
RFV is not the best way to think about it, because whilst there is a treasury there, and it theoretically could be RFV, there's two key metrics that prevent it from being RFV, because firstly, Strat itself doesn't have governance over the treasury, so there's no RFV attack vector there. And secondly, there is, in the future, as part of this rollout, there will be a ability to use Strat as collateral to borrow the ETH in the treasury out. So the only way ETH comes out of this treasury is actually using Strat as collateral. And this does two things. So it gives utility to Strat as a token, because you can now borrow the ETH out of the ETH Strategy treasury. And crucially, it's not based on the market value of Strat. It will be based on the NAV value, like the actual backing value of Strat. So it doesn't matter if Strat trades down or up in the market. It's dependent on how much ETH per Strat is backing it. You can borrow based on that. And this gives Strat utility, because it becomes a very capital efficient asset where you can literally borrow 90% of its value in quite a liquidation resistant loan, because of the way that it's marked with the ETH per Strat. And also it gives the treasury extra yield, because the Strat holders will be paying interest to borrow that ETH out. It won't be an extreme amount of interest. It'll be quite competitive, but it will give the treasury native yield in that sense. So yes. Sorry, to answer the question, there's no RFV, actually. There's no RFV attack vector because
that was
of these
an amazing
two
answer.
things.
Yeah. That was an amazing answer, and that was very actually informative. I haven't even taken that in. Wow, I didn't know that. So it's like, so basically you're saying that it's gonna have like its own like in-house lending market.
Yeah, it will. It will have its own in-house lending market. We're partnering with one of the biggest like lending protocols, which we'll put it out soon. But yeah, it'll use their borrow lend contracts. We're not going to build those contracts ourselves, but it's basically single-sided Strat as collateral and borrow ETH out of the treasury. That's basically how it's going to work, and that gives utility to the Strat token and native yield to the treasury. The rest of the treasury that's not going to be borrowed out by Strat holders will be put into yield opportunities, such as staking and lending in DeFi. And that will be announcing more information on how that actually gets organized too. That's also part of the protocol rollout. And yeah, so that's one side of the protocol, is the Strat side. So when you hold Strat, you're basically long-term bullish ETH. It's something that you hold that if you over time want to accumulate more ETH, Strat is a good way to do that. The other side of the protocol is the bonding mechanism, where it kind of sells protocol debt to acquire ETH. And to put this in the simplest way, like, being an ETH bull myself and knowing a lot of ETH bulls, like, your biggest challenge in life is acquiring as much ETH as you can at these prices. And what's the best way to do that? Usually it's taking out leverage. Now, leverage has a lot of risks associated with it, mainly two, which is liquidation and volatility decay. So usually you cannot avoid these two things when you take out a loan. You're either going to get liquidated, or if you prevent liquidation by using some sort of rebalancing or things that maybe leverage tokens use, you're going to get hit with volatility decay. So over time, you will still lose value. Even though you don't get liquidated, you will get deleveraged quite heavily. Now, what Strat does is, as a protocol, it does want to accumulate as much ETH as it possibly can. And it does issue debt to do this. It issues its own bonds, but these bonds are over a very long time frame. over 4 years. So the expiry of the loan is a 4-year loan. So there's actually no claim. There's no margin call over the next 4 years. So we push liquidation risk all the way out. And crucially, with the loan, there is a conversion rate attached to the loan. So it's an on-chain representation of what a convertible note is. And lenders that give USD to the protocol to buy the protocol's bonds, right? They lend USD and they get the protocol's bond. They get the claim on their principal back, which is what a bond is. Like you can, at the expiry of the bond, you can claim your principal back, or they can convert to STRAT, right? And the important part about this is if over time, if over that 4-year period of the loan, STRAT is accumulating a lot of ETH and ETH price goes up, and suddenly STRAT is very valuable, ETH is very valuable. It is not in the lender's best interest to claim their principal USD back. It is in their best interest to convert to STRAT. And this is where really like the MSTR kind of inspiration comes from, is because when, if over 4 years ETH goes up and STRAT accrues value, all lenders will convert to STRAT instead of claiming their loans back. And that means the treasury never actually has to pay out any ETH. It will always just be issuing more STRAT. And crucially, it'll be issuing it in an accretive dilution method. So when they do convert to STRAT, they will get less STRAT than at the time when they bonded if they at the EPS value. So they're slightly out of the money, those conversion rights. And that little bit of out of the money on the conversion rights on the bonds is where really a lot of the EPS growth and the premiums for the protocol come from. So I think I stumbled all over the place with that one, but
I actually think that's great. But
yeah,
to be honest, I'm not as savvy about this stuff as I think many of our audiences.
A lot of people aren't.
I actually think that for our specific audience, for many, this was actually exactly the kind of answer. That for me, I want to ask something. What's EPS exactly?
Yeah, EPS is the measurement that we use to see how much fundamental backing STRAT has. It stands for ETH per STRAT. So technically, like if each STRAT token has like 0.001 ETH backing, the EPS will be like that. And then over time, if we keep accruing more and more ETH in the treasury, the ETH per STRAT will tick up. And that's the metric that we use to measure how much fundamental value STRAT has been accruing, because it's fundamentally backed by more and more ETH over time.
Okay, now that's actually very helpful. And STRAT is it liquid all the time, or do someone needs to do some kind of activity with it in order to get paid? Because it seems like that you don't need to stake it or do whatever. You just have STRAT and that's it. And if you want to sell it, you sell it. All good.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's not it is kind of like another form of ETH yielding token like STETH. So there is a liquidity pool. That's what we just launched recently. You can buy and sell STRAT there at the market rate. You can also acquire STRAT at probably closer to EPS rate through bonding in the very near future as we roll this out. You can use it as collateral to borrow ETH out and still hold on to your STRAT while you go and use that ETH to do whatever you want in DeFi. But yes, you can also just sell the STRAT. If you can trade it like a normal token, there's nothing stopping you from doing that. But its core design was, it was designed with long-term holding in mind. So it's definitely not designed in mind of like short-term traders. It's designed in the form that like over time, over 4 to 8 years, holding STRAT should be a better exposure to ETH performance than holding raw ETH. That was the design goal of STRAT, the token. So for long-term holders, it's better than holding raw ETH is what the design goal of STRAT was.
That's such a good emphasis. And actually, I find it quite cool, and I also really like it when people take something that's already happening in TradFi and they like they actually create a proper like utilization and simplification kind of it on chain, and actually think you guys are going for something.
I personally,
quite brilliant.
say,
I'm not saying it's actually that simple, yeah, but it's like try to simplify a concept.
no, it's definitely not simple. It's definitely not simple, but I personally say that DeFi it should be called instead of decentralized finance, it should be called democratized finance, because I personally take the view that DeFi's purpose is taking the financial engineering that exists in TradFi for gated investors, accredited investors, or investors that are lucky enough to be in certain jurisdictions or certain amounts of money, and democratizing it for anyone with access to the internet. So I think like that's a big part of like my entire thesis with Ethereum in general, and that's why I'm so driven to kind of build DeFi protocols that do actually do this, and I'm very happy that STRAT has this element to it. So yeah.
I agree. I definitely agree. Shout out to Robo Odin, by the way, one of our great community members. Always helpful, always setting up us with some new interviews and stuff. Appreciate your work, kind sir. And by the way, before I go to the next question, which is kind of related with what you just mentioned a minute ago, Clouded, about your design, I do want to give a shout out to our audience. It's quite a celebrative day according to the amount of views Restream is telling me already, getting close to 900. It's quite
wow.
nice actually for
that's a lot of views.
Yeah, actually, okay. I don't know, like in a way, X numbers are weird because it presents it as viewers, but I don't really think it's current viewers. It doesn't make any sense. I think it's views, but okay. Still, it's nice to have
That's
a nice.
It's still very good.
Yeah. People are into ETH, man. I'm starting to get the sense that people are into ETH. So if you guys are watching, follow us at Leviathan News. Follow Clouded and ETH Strategy on X as well, and search for their socials and check their quite cool of a website. Clouded, I want to ask you this. There's all these like TradFi treasury companies rising now for ETH, like Sharplink with Consensus, and I've actually seen, I think, some others as well.
Yeah, Tom Lee's Bitmine, and there's actually a whole bunch. ETH Zillow got announced yesterday, and many.
Right, I saw that. What's that? But wait. Before we get into ETH Zillow, what I'm basically saying, what I basically want to ask you next is, when you guys designed it, like, who is the audience? Who do you guys, and like you said, you're looking for, you're seeing it as a long-term investment vehicle. So I'm kind of curious, because it's very easy for me to understand, or for anyone, I mean, with these TradFi companies who are going off-chain and like SBET and stuff like that, it's clear who's the target audience there. You know what I mean? Like, they want the TradFi investors who are not going to put money on-chain. But with you guys, obviously, you're going for on-chain money, but I don't know, maybe on the back end, you guys are going to onboard some users onto the platform. So I'm very curious as to your like market approach, and like who's the target audience or audiences, and how do you guys intend on growing the business? Because it's such a, this it's the kind of thing, it can be huge. And by the way, I think that your on-chain sale, public sale, I mean, for a sale, first of all, I think it, like they say, that escalated quickly. Like stuff happened very fast over there, and it's quite an amount of ETH to start with. So I definitely want to know about your growth intention and your audience targeting.
Yeah. I mean, when we started ETH Strategy, there was no TradFi Listco running a ETH Strategy. So we started this about 6 months ago. So this was well before SBET. This was about 3 months before. We started about 3 months before there was even talks, because I personally was kind of part of the, I had my ear to the ground with the rumors that, Consensus was doing something like this and that. But this was about 3 months before any of that. And a lot of our early pitching was around the fact that like, yeah, ETH does need its own type of MSTR play, and there's no better way to do it than on chain. And a lot of our initial pushbacks and objections were that like, oh no, you guys don't understand. MSTR only works because it takes, off-chain money and brings it to exposure to, on-chain assets. But we, from the very beginning, I fundamentally had a different view. Like, whilst that is true, and I think there's a lot of access arbitrage involved with like these listcos, I think that there's a lot more beneath the layers. Right now, the listco strategies, like the TradFi listcos, they've kind of become quite they have an ohm season of their own, right? Like the fork season of their own, and they're becoming they're going straight to like, just straight at the market issuances, no convertibles, no nothing. There's no it's just massive raises and dumping into ETH. And I think like when MSTR happened, Saylor actually had to go through the challenge of kind of finding exogenous value to be able to accomplish what he wanted to do. And that's really where our inspiration also came from. So I've done so much like, research and thinking into this stuff. And I think that when initially Saylor started out, I think, obviously he was bullish on Bitcoin, but I don't think lots of TradFi was. And it was very hard for him to get the money to buy Bitcoin. And that's where he had to kind of like, the market kind of told him, but at the same time, he had to discover a way to create this external exogenous value to capture the ability to purchase Bitcoin. And that was where he started issuing his convertible debts, right? And really what he was doing was he was mispricing the embedded options in his convertible notes. And anyone who does any options trading that is listening knows that if anyone sells you a mispriced option, a cheap option, they're basically selling you cheap volatility, and you can go and you can arb that cheap volatility in the same way that people would arb like, ETH prices, for example. If someone sold you ETH for $1,000, you could go and sell it on Binance for, $3,000 or whatever it is now. But that's not the same with options world. If someone sells you a cheap option, yes, you can go and like, sell another option and capture the arb, but you can also do a very unique trade where it's quite popular in TradFi. It's called gamma scalping. You can hang on to that really cheap option, and you can short the underlying and kind of rebalance this every day and eke out the arbitrage of that volatility in the form of yield. And Saylor kind of stumbled upon this type of trade that he put out to the market, and that's how he initially raised a whole bunch of his first couple billions to actually be able to buy Bitcoin, because no one would loan someone billions of dollars to go and buy Bitcoin, but they would loan it to them if they were able to get extremely high yield on that loan. And that's kind of what the exogenous value that Saylor had to like kind of come up with to do what he wanted to do. Of course, later down the track, Bitcoin became the hot thing, and he started a massive at the market issuance, and captured a whole lot of Bitcoin per share for himself that method. And that's what a lot of the listcos have just gone straight to doing now, because there's a lot of animal spirits in the market, and it allows them to do it. But I think our real inspiration came from the exogenous value that Saylor was able to do in this particular trade. And we designed a protocol in a way to really democratize that core volatility trade. So at its core, you can also think of ETH Strategy as a new DeFi primitive that brings a volatility swap on chain. It's a swap from people that want, it's a volatility swap between people that want, high beta ETH exposure and people that want high yield on their USD. And we do that because we kind of productized that convertible note, that mispriced convertible note trade. And that's what we're going to roll out as a core part of our protocol. And so really, to answer your question and bring it around, the initial audience that we believe this was for was two people. On the STRAT side, ETH bulls that are happy to allocate a certain percentage of their ETH stack to a high beta ETH play. And then on the other side, a lot of on-chain stables that chase very high yield, which is obviously known to be true. There's a lot of PMF in yield chasing stables, and and our bonding was chasing, USD stables that will try and take a lot of yield from this volatility trade. So those were the two on-chain users that we were really targeting. And we know that there's PMF for both of these because there's a lot of ETH bulls that don't want to go off chain, right? Like there's a lot of ETH people that don't want to go and buy SBET or can't, but they would they would stake their ETH and they would lend it to Aave, and they might even buy something like STRAT, right? And on the other side, there's a lot of stable coins on Ethereum that are purely there to chase the highest yields. And, if we can secure even a small percentage of that, that is a very good TVL for a protocol like ours.
Well,
yeah.
Man, you're sharing a lot of interesting stuff that I personally at least didn't know. Like I'm sure that people who actually did a proper exploring of ETH strategy and understand finance and DeFi in higher levels than myself, some of them may have already known this, but even from the stuff I can understand, I'm like, okay, this is some definitely cool alternative. And for the first part, like I agree for sure that like some on-chain users who are ETH bulls, why wouldn't they go for a higher risk-reward aspect of investing in Ethereum? Like it's quite classic, and they're looking for it. And I definitely agree. Those are exactly the opposite guys of TradFi. They don't want to go off chain. They don't want to put any money into an intermediary.
Yeah, they still want a censorship-resistant asset, right? And
yeah,
like
why would they go to they're not no. They want the high risk play, but not that much. They're not willing to take that risk. You know what I mean?
They don't want a permissioned play. They want it to be permissionless
exactly.
and censorship resistant. So yes,
exactly. They don't want the off-chain risk, and to that personally, I can surely relate. But I'm actually very, very curious about what you've mentioned about the interest that you say that now stablecoin issuers will have in actually connecting with you guys. And you say that the result of it will actually be higher yields for their stablecoin holders. And I actually think that that's even a niche that I didn't understand is a part of your business, but I actually think it's enormous.
Yeah. No? Yeah, well, that's actually one of the biggest bets of STRAT is that is the bet that ETH is going to be a volatile asset. If this protocol can productize the volatility in the form of yield by creating this trade, then a lot of stable coins will be attracted to that yield, and all of that will go towards purchasing ETH and throwing it into the treasury and driving EPS growth for STRAT. So to zoom out high level, again, and I hope the listeners are not completely banging their heads across the wall by now because of like how complicated I'm making this.
No,
but
don't worry, sir. Most of our listeners are smarter than me. Yeah, don't worry.
Okay, awesome. Well, I mean, I hope they're smarter than me too.
This is only for me to understand something as well as they're being.
No, that's fine. I mean, honestly, I have found that it is complicated. Unfortunately, like in the end of the day, it is finance. It is proper financial engineering. So there's only so much that you can left curve. But what I'll say is the way that the USD yield comes into play is this. So the protocol sells bonds as convertible notes to the market. It sells these for USD. Okay. The reason why USD will buy our notes, the protocol's notes, why it will buy ETH Strategy notes instead of going to lend in Aave or go into other yield-bearing products like Athena, is because the notes that we sell, they have embedded options on STRAT, where that's the conversion right. So the ability to convert to STRAT is an option, and this option is mispriced on purpose. So the protocol actually sells these for free, or the cost of capital is what the price of that option is. And when you get this free option on STRAT, it opens up this trade on chain that allows you to kind of do what's called gamma scalping. You can short STRAT or you can sell you can sell ETH calls, and basically pocket the premiums on selling the ETH calls, or every day if you're shorting STRAT or shorting ETH, and the volatility changes the price, you can close that short and scalp the profits, or either in either directions. But crucially you're using this free option as your delta upside, and then you're shorting for the delta downside, or selling calls for like being short a call, and this is a delta neutral trade on the USD value, but it is long gamma. So you're longing volatility whilst being delta neutral. So you're not actually exposed to price, because you're both long and short on delta, but you're long on gamma. So as long as the underlying is volatile, the underlying in this circumstance is STRAT, but STRAT is also just a proxy for ETH because it's fully backed by ETH. So as long as ETH is volatile, there will be yield given in the form of this volatility trade, and over time this can be very attractive. We've done a lot of back testing, we've done a lot of market validation, and we have actually built a vault that automates this trade for our bonding mechanism, which is part of our protocol rollout. And the yields are very attractive, like back tested, and some Monte Carlo simulations, they give yields of well over 15-20% per annum, up until 35-40% per annum in volatile circumstances. So it can be an extremely attractive product for some high risk USD stablecoin holders that want to chase some of that. And that's basically like, when they come and they give their USD to chase this yield into this vault, the vault actually bonds all of that USD, and that goes towards buying ETH for the treasury and giving STRAT a massive premium. So as long as ETH is volatile, this is the kind of flywheel that we're really trying to capitalize on. Is USD lenders will chase the high yield that will go into the protocol, into bonding, into buying ETH, into giving STRAT a premium. And the more premium kind of STRAT gets, the more EPS growth it has, the more leverage it has against ETH, and the more volatile it is. And that kind of has the flywheel of like, there might be more yield on the other side because of the more volatility. So this is the flywheel that we're really trying to like get going here on chain. And it's still early days, but we're stepping towards it. But that's the idea. Like, I think maybe like not many people understood what I was saying. I don't even think I understood what I was saying, but that's kind of where we're going with ETH strategy. It's actually at its heart, it is a new DeFi primitive that kind of brings a volatility trade on chain. That really is what it is.
I really appreciate this explanation. I do think that quite a few people in our audience are definitely savvy enough to completely have understood all that kind of stuff. I personally am not savvy at all about options, although I did try to at least get a glimpse of it a few times, but I haven't actually crossed that barrier, I guess, of deciding that, okay, I have to know this stuff. But it's starting to prove that it's something that is extremely useful to know. And I'm just being kind of, I don't know, insecure about it. I think
options are smart. I think options are a huge part of the future of DeFi. Like, options are huge in finance.
Exactly.
And I think that like, and our team is basically just a whole bunch of quants and engineers. Like that's all we are. Really. Just,
How many people
we're just quants and engineers. There's a core team of about four to five with like another 3 contributors or so. So it's but we try and keep it smaller. Like, it's easier to execute as a smaller team. Like, we don't want to scale too hard too quick. But we're just all quants and engineers who kind of have like really deep options backgrounds and some really good crack devs along with us. But the real thing for us was this options trade, this volatility trade that we're trying to build around. And I think that if anyone has any questions or is listening and wants to learn more, they can feel free to reach out to myself or anyone on the ETH Strategy team. It definitely is a new DeFi primitive that we're trying to bring on chain. So to answer your question, the users is everyone that's kind of like trying to capitalize on something new in DeFi.
I want to ask you about your work there. I mean, like, you do BDSM, you say, at the strategy, and
Business development, sales, and marketing. Yes.
it's actually even better than I thought. I'm curious as to like what's your day like, because I'm convinced that you work pretty much every waking hour, the way I perceive this type of anons online who are setting up these incredible empire businesses. And I'm very curious about like the process of growing and connecting. Like, how do you? What is your day like? Who are the people that you talk to? Like anyone, like for those listening to us now. And by the way, shout out, guys! At least according to now, 1360. How do you say it in English? 1,360 people.
Yeah, 1,300. That's really cool.
Yeah, man, you have cool stuff that you're presenting here, and people are for sure bullish. Like, really, it's a crucial vehicle. Just like you say, all these complex financial mechanism allow opportunities, and those who are able to like bring them and to the people as simplified as possible, they're gonna win. And honestly, I see that you guys again, I'm definitely no expert, but you guys seem well positioned. This seems extremely cool, and this kind of stuff can work. And I actually really like the fact, that you say it's such a small team, because this ratio of being a profitable company or business relative to the amount of employees you have is actually one of the coolest metric I actually
Yeah, everyone's trying to beat like OnlyFans or Tether.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone will win them one day, I actually think. Like, at some point, someone will.
It'll be a one-person company. With AI these days, it'll be a one-person company that
know what? That's a good bet, actually. Yeah. But if you do have a few minutes more, Clouded, to tell us or tell me and the others a bit about your work and your your daily activities, because I also kind of want that if someone is listening and he has an idea and he wants to connect, and he says that, and he thinks he create like a positive connection or a meaningful connection. I know I am interested. So what should people bring like to your table? What does interest you? How do you go about and try to make you guys into the empire that you hope to be?
Yeah, I mean, very busy days, especially recently. What do I do? Honestly, I'm kind of the pretty face at ETH Strategy. Even though I'm anonymous, that's kind of like the most ironic thing. But no, on a more serious note, kind of across everything, really. I have a background in finance and in computer science. So initial idea was really heavily influenced by myself to bring MSTR on chain. A lot of the initial financial engineering I contributed very heavily to, along with our other two quants, designing the whole system, finding initial investors, building the initial community. I'm very grateful and to have such a great reach in the Ethereum ecosystem because of all the work and I guess like contribution I've done over the years. I have a great circle of people that know me and kind of support me. So I'm very grateful for them, and being able to, bring them into stuff that I want to kind of do is very awesome to have that. So kind of building that community, connecting with a lot of investors, doing a lot of the BD. I think my real, apart from contributing to the actual quant work and the building out of the project, like really the BD is crazy. Like I think I've talked to over 120 people / firms / desks / whatever about ETH Strategy, and all the work is in BD. It's all about getting people invested. It's all about getting people to understand the trades. It's all about cutting deals for people to get involved. That's really where the success is made. I think the real success is done through that type of business development, and that's that growth, and that's where I shine a lot in this team. So fortunate to have my network and my connections and be able to leverage that. But yeah, like that's really my day is just getting as many people involved with ETH strategy as possible in as many ways as possible. Some people just want to get high yield on USD. Some people are ETH bulls and they want to buy STRAT. Some people want to get involved, but they have worries of downside. So you have to like structure something for them. Some people want to partner with you on the way that you do your product and whatnot. And you can find mutually beneficial ways of doing this. And yeah, I think every day that goes by, the most valuable thing you can do is get more people invested and using your product in some way. And that's really like all my day is about. So yeah, all sorts of partnerships, all sorts of BD to get more bonding demand, more future strat demand, more just people understanding the trade, selling the trade, getting their friends in, like referring you to other people and desks that they know. And that's really all it is, really, behind the scenes. And yeah, it's just a whole bunch of headache there. And and then executing the things on chain is also quite stressful still for me. Whilst I have executed things in the past and whatnot, it's always still stressful deploying and doing things on chain. But the hard part, I think the real moat is being able to build the community and having that real good BD and growth behind your ecosystem. I think that's the real focus that sets projects apart. So yeah.
Man, that sounds so cool, actually. And much respect. I actually think people like yourself are you guys are changing the world. You guys are giving us better opportunities, stuff that honestly, up until a few years ago, I don't think we could have even definitely most of us couldn't even have imagined. And wish you guys a lot of luck. Is there anything you want? I know I just know that you're busy, and I don't want to take too much of your time. But is there anything that we haven't mentioned that you want to mention? Anything specific? Any shout out to or a call out to the call to action for the audience? What they should do? Whatever you think. Because I know that just like you said a minute ago, I know you have a busy day ahead for sure.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. No, Ben, and thank you so much for having me on. I'm trying to spend more time now on the marketing and exposure side. Like definitely, after these initial growing and launch sequence, going to be doing much more of this type of stuff. So really appreciate you for having me on and reaching out. In terms of shout outs, just thank you to everyone that's been very supportive along the way for ETH Strategy. If you're listening in to this and you want to learn more, feel free to reach out to myself or anyone on the team. Make sure you follow the main account and turn notifications on, because we really are just going to do all of our main announcements through there. If you want to join in, there's a public Telegram group. You can find that through the Twitter or on our website. We are running at 1,000 miles an hour, trying to go as quickly as possible. So be patient as we execute and roll out this protocol. It's not going to be an overnight thing. It is going to take some time, but be patient with us and be along on the journey. Really grateful for all the attention. Everything's been organic, by the way. I really appreciate. We have 11,000 followers on Twitter. We have some great engagement, some awesome reach, and it's all organic. So just massive shout out to everyone that's supporting this. It's really good because I really like to see something that's proper DeFi taking a spotlight again, as opposed to just TradFi or whatnot. So it's really awesome to see this, and just super grateful for everything that's happening. That's all I wanted to say.
Incredible, man. Good stuff. And honestly, wish you guys a lot of luck. Know that you always have a stage here at Leviathan. Whenever you have any updates that you want to share or whatever, or even you can use our decentralized headline services whenever you guys have announcements. Personally, when I see an interesting one, I always push it through myself, but it's always actually better for us to have the teams themselves know about it and know that they can use our bot in order to submit their headlines and get them out there as quickly as possible to our audience as well. And even earn some squid, our own participation token while you're at it. And man, looking forward to actually to talk to you, to catch up with you again in the future, hopefully, and learn about the progress. And hopefully we'll think about some interesting, like maybe ideas and talk to you about them offline after them. We'll try my luck
sure.
as well. So thanks a lot, man. Guys, follow with Strategy, follow Clouded. If you have some interesting thoughts for them or possible connections or introductions that you think you should be doing, try to reach out, join the strategy community, and join the Ethereum movement. This is Leviathan News, almost 1,500 people views on the stream. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. Please take a moment, like the video, leave a comment, reply, share it with your friends, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And respect. Thank you for your time, everyone. Really appreciate your time. Hope this was informative for you. I actually think that you are extremely informative, Clouded, and I really thank you for both that and your time and your great work. Please send my regards to the rest of the teams and the quants and the engineers there for changing the world for the better. Much respect. And have a great rest of your day, sir. And happy 10th anniversary, Ethereum. I understand that this is the official day, right?
It is, yeah. So happy birthday, ETH, and thank you so much for having me on The Advisor. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, sir. All right, guys. Have a great day. Thank you for watching. Bye, folks.